Welcome. Today we're going to talk about sharpening knives. Now, sharpening knives is one of the biggest things that people have problem with. A lot of people only have this at their house. Now, this is a steel. Now, the thing with the steel, what it does is it actually sharpen. When you sharpen a knife, you bring it at an angle like this. But what the steel actually does is it's just honing the knife. It's not really sharpening it. It's basically straightening out all the hairs so it has a nice edge to it. But over time, after you beat down that edge, you're going to have to go and get it either professionally sharpened or you're going to need one of these tools of the trade. So here we have a couple varieties of my favorite that are called whetstones. Now, the reason why they're called whetstones is because you use water. Now, this is a classic ancient samurai secret of how they sharpen all their knives before they lob someone's head off. But so what my favorite is right here. It all depends on the grit. Now, this is a clay one, and it's got a nice soft grit to it. Obviously, you can tell by the bow in it that it's been used a lot. But what this thing does is it actually hones your knife and makes it sharp enough so you don't have to worry about ever taking it to have someone laser sharpen it. So you got this one here, which is it's got a 1,000 grit on it and then a 3,000 grit on it. Now, we don't use the 3,000 grit that much because it's for very, very pristine, very, very sharp looks to it. So I will show you how to do that in a second. This is also a whetstone. You can pick up these stones at Wajimaya or any Asian place. You can pick these up, and they're called whetstones, and it's W-H-E-T stones. And you want to look for a grit that's about 1,000 grit. The other ones are going to rough up your blade. So here what we have is called an oil stone. Now, these things are a little bit pricey, and that's why I like the whetstones, because the whetstones aren't as pricey. So what you have is you have two different grits here. You got this very strong grit, and then you got this really nice soft mild grit. Okay, it's kind of like works like sandpaper. So what you want to do is, if you ever use these stones, you want to go in a sweeping motion. See how I'm doing that? Then come back. Count how many times you do it. Now, the reason why, now this stone right here is the one that you want to use mainly. These stones right here, the heavier grit stones, are used if you ding out or if you nick something. Okay? So this is a great one to use, but I like using these for stronger knives. Like a Wüsthof, a really heavy German steel. Those Germans are really heavy, right? So I'm going to show you how to do a whetstone here. You want to add water to it. A lot of people will just soak it in water. But what I do at my house is I actually set up a cutting board around the ring of my sink and then set it up right on the middle of the island and start getting it soaking with some water. Now, you want to soak it with some water for about 10 minutes. And then what that does is it really softens it up. Okay? And then take the water off and you just bring it back and forth, just like this, nice and easy. Nice angle. You can fit your finger in there. You see how my finger's in there? That's what angle you want, just so the tip of your finger is still in there. And count how many times you go through it. Now, you want to be careful that you don't mar up your blade. So you want to make sure that you keep it right above that finger. And you can actually, once you start working with these stones, you can actually feel them grab the knife. And you can feel that blade really start to work. And then you can start working with it a little bit more. And it only takes a few times. You don't have to put a lot of pressure into it to get it nice and sharp. And what I do is, I have a wide variety of knives at my house. So what I do is when I start feeling one go dull, what I do is I actually take them all out and sharpen them all. And get them a nice clean sharpness to them. So then, this is where the steel comes in. This is where you would finish with the steel to straighten out those lines in it. Then you have a perfect cut on a tomato. Voila!